Take a moment, close your eyes, and imagine you've traveled back in time 25,000 years. Now open your eyes. You'd be standing on a thick sheet of ice called the Green Bay Lobe. The glacier's edge is just a few miles to the west. This is as far as the glacier ever traveled. While a glacier's edge seems stationary looking at one place on the landscape, the pressure of its own weight keeps the ice constantly moving. New ice is always flowing into the area, balanced by the removal of melting ice. The ice acts as a conveyor belt, transporting unsorted sediment called glacial till as it moves. Much of the till piles up along the edge of a glacier. Sometimes when the glacier melts away, the till left behind forms a ridge or a moraine. Looking west from the highest spots at Pope Farm Conservancy, on the horizon you can see the moraine that marks the furthest extent of this ice sheet. Geologists have named this moraine the Johnstown Moraine. It marks the outer edge of the ice sheet that crossed much of south-central Wisconsin. It curves through Verona towards Cross Plains to the west and extends up to the Baraboo Hills. Because the Johnstown Moraine is evidence of where the glacier stopped, we call it a terminal moraine. As the climate warms, the ice edge recedes in starts and stops. As ice from the Green Bay Lobe retreated, there was a period of time when the highest part of the landscape at Pope Farm Conservancy was ice-free, even while ice was still filling the valley of Black Earth Creek. Because they were formed while the ice was retreating or receding overall, these are called recessional moraines. While the Johnstown Moraine was off to the west of Pope Farm, these recessional moraines cross the farm. If you are standing on the crest of the hill, you're on the first recessional moraine. If you walk north, you'll feel the dip and rise of a second moraine. The edge of an ice sheet is a noisy, wet, muddy, and dangerous place. Tremendous amounts of ice, water, and sediment are constantly moving. Large blocks of ice the size of houses or even apartment buildings can break off from the glacier and get buried in the mud. As the glacier retreats, some of these blocks remain buried in the ground for hundreds or even thousands of years. When climate finally warms enough to melt these buried blocks of ice, the ground on top of them collapses to form depressions on the ground called kettles. There are kettles located just north of the Conservancy boundary. The sediment at the Conservancy is almost entirely glacial till. The beautiful stone wall you see behind you was built from tumbled boulders left behind in the sediments. We find many rock types not native to this area, and we call these glacial erratics because they were brought here by the glacier. The rock walls on Pope Farm Conservancy are almost entirely made of glacial erratics that came from as far away as Canada. In the rock walls, you can find examples of pink volcanic rock called rhyolite and a black volcanic rock called gabbro that were transported from hundreds of miles away by the ice sheet. We enjoy the view of Lake Mendota from this high point of the recessional moraine where three watersheds meet. These are the gifts left behind by the glacier.